What's up, and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're talking about a 2006 horror video game adaptation. That's right, it's Silent Hill. Now, I don't really consider myself to be a gamer per se. Most games I've never really touched, but for some reason or another, I have played at least one Silent Hill game, maybe two, and I dig it. Something about the mechanics of how these games operate is unmistakable. A lot of video games nowadays, they feel very, very similar in how they operate, like in terms of controls, visuals, even narrative. But when you played Silent Hill, you knew what game you were playing. Now, I've seen this movie before, and I've seen both films in this series, and I enjoy appreciating this film for what it is, but does it still hold up to the epoch of my youth, or is it just garbage? Let's get cracking. This review is brought to you by the word of the day, epoch, a period of time in history or a person's life. Silent Hill takes the audience on a journey to the mysterious abandoned city of Silent Hill when a young girl constantly dreams of the city and what happened there. Against the father's wishes, the mother and daughter travel to Silent Hill and get separated, disappearing from the rest of the world. To answer the question that I had earlier, I still appreciate a lot of what's going on in this film. First of all, it's things going on behind the scenes that pop out to me as very good. Production design, costume, makeup work, even the super creepy music and or sound effects that are happening. This film has a completely isolated atmosphere that mimics the games. The ashen town that looks like fog is impossible to mistake. A lot of the creatures in the movie are very original, as is the concept itself. Lots of great stuff in this film, I'm not kidding. When thinking back to it as a whole, I feel like you'll remember two things. You'll remember a lot about the visuals, because a big part of the movie is what it looks like, and you might remember, hey, Sean Bean's in the movie too. But that last thing, it's kind of a negative in the same breath, because Sean Bean is pointless in this movie. You should not be remembering him. You should be remembering the mother, the daughter, or even the cop that follows them into the city more, because they're actually characters that further the storyline. Sean Bean, on the other hand, is almost in there completely for star appeal. Throughout the movie, he's basically just flapping his arms around saying, "Where's my family? Where's my family?" But he himself isn't contributing anything to the story. Anything. He could be played by anybody, or heck, nobody, because I'm still baffled as to his entire purpose. And you know it's gotta be bad that regardless, you remember him more than the actual important people in the film, right? I don't know why I don't remember the mom, daughter, or cop. Maybe because they don't really leave an impression to me, so my subconscious automatically jumps to the star appeal and like, hey, there's Sean Bean. That's one of the biggest issues. The next issue comes down to the fact that there's a ton of exposition in the film. There are characters here that exist solely for exposition, and that's unfortunately a majority of the people that speak. The film constantly goes through long-winded spiel after long-winded spiel about what's actually happening in the world, and I found myself just not caring anymore. I just wanted it to get to the point and get back to some of that creepy imagery, which is where the film does very, very well. These two things are both problems in the film that, to me, stand out as bad. It has some other issues too, but most of those I forgive. Like the first creatures that show up in the movie, they're apparently supposed to be like hundreds of charred babies attacking our main character, and they're made entirely out of CGI, and you can tell it's not as strong as anything else before or after their inclusion. I forgive it because the rest of the visuals is, to me, perfect. Another problem that I had, which again was minor, was the cop. In the very beginning of the film, you just have this mom and daughter who are nothing more than intrigued as to why the daughter keeps dreaming about Silent Hill. So they're on a quest to find Silent Hill. And on their quest, they get stopped by a cop. Who knows why, but they stop the car, and once the cop steps out of their own vehicle and starts walking towards their car, they book it. Like, it seems out of character. They're not on the run. They didn't commit any kind of crime. The little girl's not kidnapped. Nothing. But they run from the cops anyway. I don't get it. I guess they needed the cop to show up in the town too, but that wasn't the best way to do it. I think fans of the video game series can definitely appreciate what's going on here, because narratively, the movie follows a very specific structure that's going to remind you of how video games typically operate. Like, these characters go from this location to that location to this location, to that location, and every single time, they just so happen to find a clue that points them in the next direction, And obviously, the exposition is very video game-like too. But the rules of film differ from the rules of video games, and as such, the movie needed to be more Hollywoodized, if you will. Let's go ahead and break my score down from an unbiased technical vantage point. This movie isn't bad at all. Like I said, you're going to remember a lot about the visuals here, both in the world of Silent Hill and the creatures within it. That score is 74%, but as far as entertainment and bias goes, I would say I wasn't as entertained as I could have been, that I appreciated it more than I liked it. So my bias score is 68%, averaging everything out to a final score of 71%, 71 out of 100 possible stars, granting Silent Hill with a letter grade of C-. It has its issues. It's not perfect, but you gotta admit it could have been a lot worse too. Take that as you will and tell me your thoughts on Silent Hill in the comments down below. Did you like it? Are you a fan of the video game series? And how do you liken the film to the games? Also, make sure that you hit like, subscribe, and the bell to be notified on my next review, which should be Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. And I'm very excited about that, so stick around, ladies and gents. It should be good. And until then, peace out.